Hello there everyone, it's Jane. Thanks so much for stopping by. I thought I'd jump on the foiling bandwagon and make some cards for you all. I wanted a tone-on-tone look, which I think I have achieved. I've used Gina K foils and some Deco foils. This particular card was with rainbow foil. This card I used Gina K glittering green with the Stamp Market paper hug. And the card coming up next, I use silver sketch foil. It's really hard to see this one, but in real life it's beautiful with the Stamp Market hay. And Simon Says Stamp has some toner sentiments that I foiled in red. I'm not sure if you could see that. It's really hard to see. So I started the process with the Deco foil transfer gel. It's kind of like a thin paste. It's like a mayonnaise consistency. And I have what's called an offset spatula or palette knife, which makes it really easy to slide the transfer gel. I use some purple tape. I have some Nina 110-pound cardstock. It is my favorite cardstock. This stencil I made out of a paper tray ink die. And I got the idea from Jennifer McGuire, and it's called the Mighty Bloom die. And I cut that out of 110-pound cardstock. I used pixie spray and my Tim Holtz splat box, and I sprayed the back of it and I stuck it down, and it worked so amazing. I have first time using pixie spray, and it will not be my last time using pixie spray. And I do love my splat box, and it wasn't very much money. So with my offset knife, I am spreading the transfer gel onto the front of my paper stencil. I'm trying to get a really smooth coating here. I don't want any bumps or lumps. And I'm just spreading it all out and taking the rest and putting it back in the jar. Waste not, want not, as my mother used to say. Peel it off very carefully and as straight up as possible. The beauty about the paper stencils, you can throw them away. And there you go, you can see that. Set it aside to dry. I want to say it takes about 2 hours. I just did all of my backgrounds and came back later on. This is the My Favorite Things Floral Fusion die. Again, I cut it out of Nina 110-pound cardstock. Made my own stencil. Sprayed the backs with pixie spray. I sprayed the back with all of them in my Tim Holtz splat box. Pushed it down really tightly and spread my transfer gel on. Now I did pretty much everything in real time. I'm hoping you don't get real bored. Peel it straight up, throw it away, and there it is. It's beautiful. Wait till you see it when it's done. It's amazing. I cut another stencil out of the Hero Art Star Confetti die. Adhered that, and the same process. I used the transfer gel with the offset palette knife, did it as smooth as possible, and scraped off the excess and saved it. This is the Simon Says Stamp Folk Dance stencil. I love this stencil. I've used it many, many times. Again, I sprayed the back of it, stuck it down. I used some purple tape this time so that it wouldn't move, and got as smooth as I could. And then this is the Simon Says Stamp Star Medallion stencil. When I get going on backgrounds and I have a mess, I just keep on with the mess and just make as many as I can. I don't always use them at that particular time, but I use them eventually. Make sure you put the lid on really tight so it doesn't dry out between now and then. And you need to soak your stencils in water right away, otherwise they will dry and you will ruin your stencils. So I have a bowl of water sitting next to me that I drop everything into. I'm using my Royal Sovereign laminator, and I'm using the Brutus Monroe Silver Sketch Transfer Stitch, as you can see right here. I've let my laminator heat up for a really long time. These are the Deco Foil Rainbow. I'm also using Gina K Glittering Green, And I'm also using a Gina K red and a Gina K silver sequins. I did not show the red, and I'm sorry. I have let the laminator heat up for about 25-30 minutes. I'm not sure it needs to heat up that long, but everybody else does. I have a piece of typing paper with a 110-pound cardstock cut to sit inside just as a shim. I put my transfer gel sheet in there, my card that I put the transfer gel on, and I put the silver sketch foil on top, fed it through. It takes a little while to come through, and it's pretty hot when you take it out, so I give it a couple of shakes to cool it off. I don't want, you know, the foil to not stick. And then look at the magic here. That is just absolute magic. It is beautiful. And using that pixie spray, there is no transfer gel underneath the stencil. So here's that My Favorite Things Floral Fusion. And there's that folk dance with the rainbow. Sorry, I'm so fast here. And then I'm using the Deco foil toner sheets. And I wanted to try out a little experiment here, and I thought I'd show it to you guys. I cut it to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I put the leftover from the one I peeled off, that silver sketch, just to see what it looked like. I really had no idea, and I thought I'd just see what happened. I ran it through my laminator, and look how cool that is. I can't wait. I didn't use that in this video, but I cannot wait to use that in another card. Here is the one with the stars. Look how beautiful they come out. Absolutely beautiful. I am just so excited about this. I'm so glad that I tried this out. That's the rainbow foil. And that one did not come out as good, and I wanted to show you that I did not put my transfer gel on very smooth, and it did not come out very good. And there are a few things stuck to the cardstock there, so if you use your craft knife and give it a little scrape and rub it off, it comes off completely. And I learned that I need to put my transfer gel on much smoother. So here's the backgrounds that I made today. I cut them all down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That is not true. I cut them down to 4 by 5 1/4. They look so much cleaner once you cut off all the excess. And I just wanted to show you everything that I did, even though I did not use all of the backgrounds in today's cards. I just love that silver one. And then here's this bloom die. You can see it has a little boo-boo up in the upper right-hand corner, but that would be easily covered with a sentiment strip. So now we are working on this next card, the first card actually. As Simon Says Stand Hello is my sentiment. I cut that out of the peel and stick transfer sheets. This is where I keep all of my cardstock on different rings, and I wanted to see which color I wanted to make my card base. So I chose the Simon Says Stamp Island Blue, and it looks really good with that. I also cut out the hello out of the transfer sheets and put the red foil on top. Looks so pretty. It's just so sparkly in real life. I also cut 3 hellos out of white cardstock, and I stack them up. First thing I do is I would adhere my card front to my card. I love the stamp runner. It is my Tombow stamp runner. It is my favorite stamp runner. And that's I kind of stack them up, hold them up, use my hands. It's hard to get everything cut exactly, so the card itself is a little bit longer than the card front. So I just take my scissors and cut it off. I probably could use my trimmer, but who knows? No one will know the difference. Here's my 3 white hello die cuts. I love the Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive. It is one of my favorites. I have quite a few favorites, but this is one of my favorites because it doesn't ever seem to clog up. It doesn't matter how often sometimes I put the lid on something, they just seem to clog up. I put little tiny dots of glue on, layer them up. When they're big die cuts, I can form them with my fingers and get them all to line up right. If they're little, I use tweezers to kind of grab the two to put them together. And again, this is in real time. I wanted you to see that it takes some time, because I know when I first started out making die cuts and cards, I just thought everything was so fast and so easy, and it turns out it really wasn't so fast and so easy sometimes. And I started to put the glue on, and I realized that the red die cut is a peel and stick toner sheet, even though I'm having trouble getting the stick off. I probably should have cut this part out of the video. But this is my second YouTube video, people, and I had no idea that editing a video and audio and cutting and all of that, all the crafty people out there are just so amazing, and I just respect them all so much more now that I know what's involved in making a video. But there's my die cut, and I put it down and I realized that you really could not see it, even though I was going for a tone-on-tone look. It just kind of blended in. So my go-to for that is to add a vellum strip or a vellum heart or a circle or something like that. Because I used a stamp runner, I was able to disassemble my card. And I just left this in the video to show you that just because you put it all together doesn't mean you can't change it. I probably should not have put the front on the back until I was 100% sure what I was doing. But this was a lesson for me, and maybe it's something that, you know, you'll appreciate as well. But look how much better it looks when you actually have that vellum strip there. It's just amazing. The background shows through the vellum, but it gives you enough definition that you can actually see the Hello die cut. So I used my Tim Holtz glass media mat to line up my vellum, and now I'm putting it back on the card, and there we go. All I have left to do now, I usually use a T-ruler to line everything up, and I kept my head out of the way, put the Hello down, and I always put a block or my phone on top so that I can keep it adhered, make sure it's flat. This is the one we use with the silver sketch and with the Stamp Market Hay die. It's a shadow die, so it has a back and a front. Again, I cut the hay out of the toner sheet and 3 white Nina 110-pound cardstock hays so I can stack them all together. I ran the black through my Royal Sovereign laminator with the silver sketch and have a beautiful hay that I love. I adhered that on top of the 3 die cuts. I love the texture and the dimension when you layer everything up. Otherwise, it looks so flat. You can buy a flat card at the grocery store. I prefer to have cards with a lot more dimension. My favorite way to add dimension to cards is craft foam because it's very inexpensive and it goes through the mill very nicely. I use liquid glue in this situation because that way I can move things around in case I don't get them 100% straight. If you're using a tape runner on glue, sometimes it just, tape runner on foam, it's hard sometimes. Folding it in half using my Teflon bone folder, which doesn't leave any creases or marks or shiny spots. So it's worth the investment, even though it tends to be a little expensive. Put my background piece on top of my card base, holding it down with my hand, making sure it doesn't move. And I have a big block that I use particularly for this reason. I cut the shadow hay out of Ellen Hutson 40-pound vellum. That is my favorite vellum. It's probably the only vellum that I use. I do have a couple of shiny ones, but I didn't use those today. And I used my T-ruler, lined up my hay. Sorry about the head. And there you go. This is a Simon Says stamp sentiment made out of toner ink, printed on the toner ink. So I foiled that with red. It's really hard to see. You could see it a little bit in the beginning of the video. I used foam tape that I cut quarter down and adhered that to the card, and I love it. This is one of my favorites. I love this green. Just reminds me of St. Patrick's Day. I'm not really sure why. I use the Stamp Market Paper Hug. I've used this die quite a bit in my card making recently. I cut 3 paper hugs out of white. I foiled a transfer sheet with green. Love the green. I then glued those greens on top of my triple paper hug. Again, I struggle getting the paper off the back. I don't know whether it's me or my pick. I love that pick. It's a Spellbinders 2-in-1. Love it. Again, sorry about the head. I don't know how people make these videos with no heads in them. How do you see? But look how cool that looks. It's just so fun. I am so happy that I watched a bunch of videos. I combined all of the knowledge, and there's my paper hug. Love it. Love it. This particular sentiment is from Tailored Expressions. All of these sentiments come on you stamp them all at one time and you die cut them all at the same time. It is so awesome. And it is called Simple Strips. And here are my 3 cards that I made using Deco foil and Gina K foils. I then stamp my envelopes with the Gina K Stuff with Love. I like to do my envelopes as much as possible using Gina K Amalgam ink, which is my favorite go-to ink. And I'm stamping really, really carefully because when I stamp, my video camera wobbles. I don't typically stamp like this. Normally I pound it on down, which I probably shouldn't do. And I am so sorry that was so fast. Handmade for you. And then we have a Stuff with Love. The blue envelope is Simon Says stamp, Island Blue, and the green is Gina K Jelly Bean Green. And the silver one is Simon Says stamp, Metallic Silver. I hope you like the cards. Thanks for stopping by.